Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much. We're excited to be here, but now, without any further ado, it's our pleasure to introduce Don Hahn. Don Hahn.
Good introduction, isn't it? We can do your answering machine later if you like. Welcome to the beautiful El Capitan Theatre on Hollywood Boulevard. This is like the official start of Thanksgiving for all of us, I think. The night when all the goons and crazy costumes come out, which actually is pretty much every night on Hollywood Boulevard, but tonight is special because we're going to watch an amazing movie that celebrates its 25th anniversary tonight. So thank you for coming. It's good to see you all. Listen, we're here to celebrate the 25th anniversary of the film, and I wanted to bring out some guests in a second to talk. First, I want to show some home movies and slides. This is the opening of the 3D version of Nightmare Night. That's me on the right with Henry Selick, the director, Tim Burton, of course, and I did not get the memo about wearing all black. So tonight I'm wearing as much black as I possibly can. And I want to start out. This movie came from an idea from Tim Burton, so I wanted to introduce you on the screen to Tim Burton 25 years ago, talking about where he got this idea for Nightmare Before Christmas. So this is a very young Tim Burton.
I was born in Burbank, right down the street from the Disney studio. Well, that's true. So I don't know, I always kind of wanted to work there, and then when I was working in animation, I no longer wanted to work there. When I was working at Disney, I designed something that's sort of like the reverse of that. It's like the Grinch in reverse, so to speak, about this character who finds Christmas and loves it and decides to try to do it himself, and things turn out wrong as opposed to being evil. What was that?
Sorry.
That's all right. I was wondering, was that me or was that something outside my body?
Thumbnail. Is there any way to describe the film?
Yeah.
Or it's just...
Yeah. You have to write up
So that's Tim describing as much as he could about the film. I want to bring out a couple of amazing guests for you tonight at the El Capitan to talk about the making of the film, both animation veterans, both veterans of this movie, and we're going to talk about how they put it together. So please welcome to the El Capitan stage, animator Mike Belzer, and the director, Henry Selick, is with us tonight. Guys, welcome. Good to see you. Hey, mate. How are you? Good. These guys don't live in LA. They flew down to be with you tonight. And, please. You guys have been on the road because you were in San Francisco like 2 days ago doing a talk about Nightmare Before Christmas to all of your kind of colleagues up there, weren't you?
Well, 2 nights ago we had a Visual Effects Society hosted a reunion for the Nightmare, and there was over 67 crew members at this, and many we hadn't seen. I haven't seen in 25 years, and Henry was there, and yeah, the following day I talked to him in Seattle, and now I'm here. So this is fun. Nightmare. It's all about Nightmare.
For the 25th.
It is.
Something at Comic-Con a month ago.
Right, yeah. Well, you heard it. It's an amazing movie. Can you talk a little bit about when the movie came out versus now? I mean, when the movie came out, there was some head scratching at Disney. There was some wonder about whether it was going to be something that people would want to see. What was it like when the film came out compared to now when it's a cult movie that we've, packed the house at the El Capitan for?
This is not a cult. These are people we love.
I misspoke. Well said.
We who made the film always had a great time. We never really worried about, is it going to be a big hit, a little hit. We knew it was something special. We made it for a low budget. It made double its money, but wasn't a big hit. It kind of came and went, but it seemed to strike a chord that then resonated and grew. I mean, bigger and bigger every year that went by, but it was like a small hit, and you know, it was sort of sad to say goodbye, but now it never leaves.
It never leaves. It's the kid that never moves out of your house.
Yeah, it just keeps coming back. It's amazing how it doesn't matter what I've worked on, what TV show, game, whatever in my career, it's always, tell us about Nightmare. And that is a wonderful feeling to be part of something that people love this much. I mean, I've done many things, and this is the one that, and it's truly the thing that I probably love the most, because it was the first film that I got to work on, as many of us did. And it was a family. It really was a family that were thrust together, doing the impossible, and we had a blast. It was work, but it was a lot of fun.
And Mike's an animator, and he brought along some toys to show us. Can you walk us over there and show us some of the things you brought along? And we'll just join in once in a while and comment. But these are some spectacular puppets, not just from Nightmare, but a couple puppets from Frankenweenie, Tim Burton's Frankenweenie also. And we actually have a nice... yeah.
So what you're seeing here is what we call an armature. And it's a handcrafted, ball and socket, hinged piece of metal. Many different pieces of metal. Hand machine, it's just a beautiful piece of art in its own way.
It's a skeleton.
But just to make it move, just the shoulders can come down, the head can rock. All this, just bit by bit. The fact that it can move so precisely and so small is what we need in animation, because Tom Sanamon, who was the chief armature maker and made this one here, he once told me the tolerance or area for mistake within a joint, one of these ball and socket joints, is if you take a hair off your head and cut it 10 times, that's the precision that they're dealing with a lot of these joints. And so it's crazy when you start thinking of that, and then on top of it, you layer these beautiful puppets that, you know, just bit by bit, you're able to move them around. And it's just magic. With these, we didn't have this mechanism on Nightmare, but they had it for this film. And think of it like a Swiss watch. With an Allen wrench, you could actually put the Allen wrench within the ear and turn it. And there's little mechanisms within the face, ever so slightly pull little strings and things to give it to smile and all that. In Nightmare, we had more replacement faces and hard, like Jack was a ping pong ball. Not quite, but essentially. And it's just so much fun. As a kid, I got to play with toys. I love toys, G.I. Joes especially. And then coming into this world, getting paid to play with the best puppets in the world and bringing them to life, it was, and it still is, it's just the best job there is.
So is that armature, if you stripped away the kind of costume of Jack, do you get that? Is that Jack or Sally, or who is that?
So this armature specifically is Sally, with little longer proportions, but the exact same joint construction of what you see here is what, if you were to take everything off of Sally, this is what you'd see below. And it's, like I said, it's just truly a piece of art in its own way. Just seeing Oogie Boogie, his armature was like, had to be 2 feet, 2.5 feet tall. It was crazy. You had to wrestle him to the ground.
And how do you move the eyes and blink a character like that? Because they look so frozen, but you must be able to create gestures and...
So, I mean, with a puppet like this, they're pristine. You know, they're pieces of art. So I'm not going to be, you know, moving around. But basically, with the eyes, you either have, think of it like a wooden bead with a hole in it that you could jam a stick in and kind of move it around. Or perhaps, in this case, there's just little dots that float on the surface of this plastic. And so with sometimes a little tool, we'll get in here and just start moving things around. And for the eyebrows, same thing, whether it be the mechanism or there's little paddles, tiny little armatures like this within the face that allow us to manipulate and push things, pull them, and just kind of get the different expressions of the character. It's just magic.
Something I'd like to add is what I like to do on the movies, and it goes back to Nightmare, is mix it up. Don't use one technique for all the characters. Lead characters, in particular, Jack and Sally, we want to do the replacement faces to give them very specific expressions that were on model that any animator could use and they would still be in character. But then there's Oogie Boogie, who's all his lips and eyes and brows you shove them and push them around to animate to bring them to life. And then there's the crudity of Lock, Shock, and Barrel or the mayor, and you can see the cutout shapes of the mayor's mouth and eyes. We just pop in different ones, but it works for that character. It's not like there's one rule that's going to sell it every character. It's nice to mix them up, but there's no one type of magic.
We brought along some home movies that Mike actually found for us, because some of the guys and girls on the show brought in video cameras and filmed. So this is something that hasn't been seen before. It's actually in the warehouses and during the making of the movie while the show was being made. So we'll play through it and let you get a chance. Oh, there's you younger. It's just a warm-up slide so you know who you're looking at during this clip. So. When you first built these rigs, you did some testing, and I started out by bringing those tests along with us because they're fun to look at. Can you tell us what we're looking at here?
Yeah, the very first test we did with Jack, we built with just a wire armature. It's the cheapest way to do an animated character, and it does give you a rubber hose look and feel. It wasn't what we were ultimately wanting to go for, but it was, well, here's the next step where we went to a fancy armature with the joints and tiny, tiny little feet.
And when he walks, do you have to like bolt his feet down, or?
Yeah, for what we see here, you see just this wire mesh or the wood. For every footstep, you'd have to drill a hole, come up below with a screw and tie it down, and then as his foot moved away, you'd have to find the set material and the paint to kind of patch it up, so you wouldn't see the holes that were destroying the sets.
Wow.
Walks are always one of the key things you figure out in animation. A walk can define a character. You've got your standard walk, your standard run.
That defines the character, all right.
And one of the challenges you found early on, he's so thin that he was going to disappear, right?
Yeah, he almost, because you're shooting every frame as a sharp image, there's no blur frame, like in all CG and live action. You're getting just, a tiny piece of him in every exposure, so we ended up having to put white stripes on his black outfit just so he'd photograph.
So you could see him. Well, this clip starts out, Henry, with you in the doorway of the studio.
Yeah, my starting job, I was the doorman before I became the
There we are. So tell us what we're seeing here and where we are.
This is Skellington Productions in San Francisco. 1991, what would you say? Oh, actually, it's near the end.
Yeah, so Anthony Scott was one of the animators, and this is basically a lot of footage that he took during the last couple weeks of production. And that's like a motion control rig. The camera moves on a controlled frame-by-frame motion. But we were putting sets everywhere just to store them because it was getting so crowded. But it was at the end of the production.
Yeah, whose drawings are these? And
they're either Tim's actual drawings or they're interpretations of Tim's. In a few cases, we added other original characters like the corpse boy or the werewolf, but they're all in the style of Tim.
Now what you see here, you're going to be really confused at because it's called the Mitchell camera. It used film, not digital.
Film, for those of you who don't know
what film is.
It's a clear celluloid with some silver coating on it. We'll talk about it later.
It's sold in the App Store. Just type in film, and that's how we did so many in-camera effects because computers weren't even on the scene at this point.
Well, not to create original imagery, we use computers to move cameras.
True. Yeah, with the motion control.
And it looks like most of your sets are on tabletops, so the scale of them, when you look at the armatures and the puppets, they're pretty small.
This one was massive. This took 3 animators to work on that set. Justin here is working on the sled shot, and that motion control computer movement Henry was just describing is hooked into the sled to move it around.
Lots of in-camera special effects. How do you do a melting man? A frame at a time, you heat them up.
And there it is.
Very technical. Now Angie Galaki here, she was working on many movies with the evil scientist, and often you'd have to get tools just to manipulate things.
Paul Berry, one of the greatest animators who ever lived,
left of
He acted very jaded. He called all animators dolly wagglers. They're just waggling dollies. He's a British guy.
This is a great shot where Owen's you just see the scale of these sets. And just walking into the worlds of light and these beautiful sets with these awesome puppets. It was playtime every day.
Tim Hiddle.
Tim Hiddle and Trey Thomas, who you'll see in a second, they did the best Sally animation in the world. I was struggling with the Sally shot one time, and he's like, "Oh, so you gotta treat her like a lady." And so I did. I was like, "All right, Sally, we're gonna behave, right?" And the shot worked. It was crazy.
And when you get a shot from Henry, do you guys act it out? Like, how do you do that turnover? Because you're like an actor, really.
We would. We'd have, ask what Henry sometimes would act it out. We would act it out.
Sometimes I'd pose a puppet. There'd be sketches. Every animator needed something different.
Yeah.
Some would. I couldn't tell if they were torturing me, where they wanted me to act out the entire scene, or they were really needing my help.
We were all there watching and giggling.
Yeah. This puppet is huge, like you said. The Boogie puppet.
So the Bug Boogie was at the end of the production. I got to animate a couple shots here at the end, and so many people were we needed so many bugs. So many people on the production were just, make bugs.
Yes.
None of this was approved because they wouldn't approve it. It was too weird for them. Filled with all those bugs, skin stripped away, terrifying. So we just went ahead and did it anyway. We had to get the movie done.
Good for you.
Belle's here.
Oh, and there it is.
Fruits of my labor. Yeah, Eric Layton and I split that shot up. Yeah. We'd have live action elements like that, just to have, to see
there's the crew.
It was a very small group that made it.
Thanks for watching it year after year. It's a treat. It truly is.
Thank you guys.
Unbelievable to be seeing that. And like you said, there's live action elements in this. There's all kinds of different things. There's even special effects that were done by hand on parts of the movie. Like some of the fire and flames is actually pencil on a paper, which for you kids out there, a pencil's a small wooden object with lead inside.
Too technical.
Yeah, sorry. So you would take something like this, and then that would turn into this.
Yeah, a great effects animator, Gordon Baker, who was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Effects with Peter Zacek. Jack gets married to the Jack I acted out for Paul Berry, and I don't know how many times I had to jump in that fountain.
It's an occupational hazard. Even things like the snow in the movie become animated because you have to add that kind of effect to get Christmas. So here's a little snowflake scene, and then here's the snow by itself. And these are like snow, live action snow. It's like soap flakes descending on photostats, and then that's eventually married with the flake from the movie to look like this. So when you see these elements on the screen, you'll kind of recognize how it was all done.
He just takes that one that lands on his tongue for real to sell the whole rest of it.
Yeah, it works. So you can see all the elements that go into it, and it's a huge, huge job. One of the things I wanted to point out tonight too is it's hard to tell about the entire making of the movie. There's never been a book about the making of the movie until now, ladies and gentlemen. So coming in 2019, a terrific book by an author named Dave Belzer, who actually worked on this movie and went around and interviewed all you guys, and interviewed Tim and Danny Elfman and all the makers of the movie for the first time to put a comprehensive making of book. So thanks to Dave Belzer for doing that, and it'll be available next year to be able to grab onto. It's almost movie. You're welcome, Dave. Dave's in the audience, I guess. Author extraordinaire. Thanks, Dave. That'll be $20. No, I'm just kidding, Dave. I want to just ask in closing here, you guys have lived with this movie, and like you said, it's like a child, and it really is. I know that feeling. 25 years later, you just saw your colleagues that worked on the movie. Mike, let's start with you. Just what you feel looking back at that time in the movie and the way these wonderful people appreciate it now?
I think for me, one of the big things is after 25 years, I'm able to see the film without all the mistakes. I mean, I still see them, but they don't punch me in the face the way they did, the first 15 years or so. It's just a magical movie, and I love watching it with people who have never seen it before, or I see so many young people in the audience with little kids, and it's something that we're teaching our youth with, and it just keeps going. So it's really fun to see that.
Henry, what's it like? 25 years.
I make a point of not watching it too often because I want to enjoy it every time, not get jaded. So last time I watched it was 2 years ago, with a live orchestra and so forth. And I was struck by what an insane movie it is. There had never been anything like it. Between Tim's visions, brilliant idea and designs, Danny's songs, and me and my crew's making of it, we came up with something that had never been done. I don't think there's ever been a film quite like it. And it took a while to grow its audience. It took a while for Disney to call it a Disney film. It was originally a Touchstone movie. But it's something we love to work on, and it found its life. So, nothing but joy that something this wonderfully insane has lasted and is loved.
It is, absolutely. Well, you guys are a fan of the movie. If you want to see Danny Elfman perform the movie, he's at the Hollywood Bowl coming up, and you can see the cast perform live with an orchestra at the Hollywood Bowl, so look that up. And finally, a greeting. Tim wanted to send his best. He's in London working on Dumbo for Disney. He wanted to send his best, and being Tim, he wanted to send it in a very special way. So here's a special greeting.
Hello, my name is Tim Burton. I am sorry I cannot be attending in person with you this evening, but I am currently in Hong Kong experimenting with 5D, 6D, and 7D film technology. The presentation of The Nightmare Before Christmas in 4D sounds like a real treat. Not since the advent of smell-o-vision and odorama has cinema experience been so rewarding. As you watch the film this evening, please take caution as sensory...
Tim Burton, ladies and gentlemen. We've talked enough. You guys have been great. We're here to share this great movie with you in 4D, which is not only in 3D, but with all kinds of surprise things coming at you in the theater. Thanks for coming out tonight. Please thank once again Mike Belzer and Henry Selick and the